On the cloud. And there we go. Welcome, everyone. And I am going to start us off with a song from Jan Garrett and JD Martin, which I really like. And it's not a video, so I'm just going to do the sound. I think it's easier on my internet too, so we'll do that. Oops. Kind of turn off my phone, and here we go. Whoops, it's not playing. You guys hear this?
I wake up in a world where night is falling, but I'm not afraid of the dark. I walk not alone through the valley of the shadow, for love is alive in my heart. Love is alive in my heart. Love is alive. Love is alive. Love is alive in my heart. Love is alive. Love is alive. Love is alive in my heart. Ooh, ooh, We meet in the middle and out beyond the edges, under a canopy of stars. We live in the love that holds us together, and we are not afraid of the dark. We are not afraid of the dark. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid of the dark. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid of the dark. I wake up in a world where night is falling, but I'm not afraid of the dark. I walk not alone through the valley of the shadow, for love is alive in my heart. Love is alive in my heart. Love is alive. Love is alive. Love is alive in my heart. Love is alive.
Oh, no, we're not. Oh, good morning. I see some people popped on. Hi, Jimmy, and hi, Renee.
Hi.
Great to see you guys. So I would like to welcome and invite and thank our practitioner of the day, Lissa. She stepped in for Relaine, they're still kind of moving through some stuff at their household. So good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, and that song was great because that phrase, "I walk not alone," I think that is just perfect when you're talking about the still small voice, that recognition that that voice is always there. And it's like sometimes I was thinking that sometimes it's louder than others. I've noticed that frequently when I am aware of what the topic is going to be, the synchronicities of life or my intuition bring things to me that seem to relate in interesting ways. And the first one I'd like to share is that I had listened to Susie Lula did a sermon at Agape, and a part of it, she talked about that when she first came to California was at the time of the Rodney King issue, and the riots in Los Angeles, and that in the middle of that, she was, having this sense of what can I do, kind of as all we might. And she said that this voice in her head said, "Get out your broom and sweep." And she thought, what does that mean? And then she realized that they were cleaning up in South LA, and or whatever it was, South Central. And so she went down there to help clean up. And interestingly enough, a minister, who was there, a Black minister who was there, said, "What's a little white girl like you doing down here?" And they laughed, and so they began a conversation. And it's like she, in her mind, she learned at that time, I believe, that during this period of the cleanup, that the Crips and the Bloods had a peace pact, which I thought was very interesting. And so she thought that it would be nice to have some kind of a big celebration about the community coming together and so forth. And that was just kind of a thing that came to her, intuitively. And so subsequently, very shortly thereafter, she went to Agape for the first time. And when she came at the end to shake hands with Reverend Michael, she had talked to him about how she wanted to do this. And he offered to be a speaker. He said, "If you get it together, I will be a speaker." And essentially it happened. And they have been friends for 30 years now. And, and she became a practitioner, a minister, etc. And so it is kind of interesting to see how when you follow your intuition, what that does for your life. And the second example I would give is that I was listening to Michael Beckwith interviewing Caesar, um, what's his last name?
Chavez.
No, Caesar Milan. I saw it too. The dog
Milan,
whisperer guy.
the
Yeah.
dog whisperer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He was
He was
interviewing.
amazing.
It is an amazing interview, and I really recommend it. It's in his mind, something mind matters. Your mind,
He has a podcast called Take Back Your Mind.
take back your mind. Yeah. And so but anyway, it's a fascinating interview, and it's funny. But the thing about Caesar was that he said that he had very important times he had heard the voice.
Yeah.
First of all, when he was 13, that you're going to be the best dog trainer in the world. And this is at a point in time when he was about to go to a to some kind of thing. That's 13. And then I think he was 19 or 20 when the second time the voice said, "It's time to leave."
Yeah. He did,
and
and he followed
and
that.
he followed the voice, and he followed the voice, and so
Amazing.
then you have this interesting tale of how he is illegal. He came across the border, and he talks about how he had to size it up in terms of how he did it, and then how he was living under a bridge,
Bridge for
and
a
how he
year.
was living on $1 a day with he could get 2 hot dogs for $1 a day at the Speedy Mart. And I mean the whole thing was like, I kept thinking about how, we talk about intention, and he definitely had an intention, and he could not speak any English except for to say, I offer, or do you have work, or something like that.
Yeah,
And so essentially he did different kinds of jobs. He was able, finally he worked in a kennel, and
yeah,
then he got this job where he was supposed to take care of a parking lot, because it was, people would leave stuff anyway. He guarded the parking lot, and that parking lot is the place that became his first dog whispering spot. But it's just fascinating. And then the whole thing of how, well, I would love to have seen this, but how he was, then in order to make money, he figured he would not charge a whole lot since he didn't speak English, but that
yeah,
he would walk dogs, and he would walk your dog for $10.
yeah.
And so he had a pack of 40 dogs that he could walk off leash. And
I would highly recommend that you watch the interview. Just Google it. It's Take Back Your Mind. It's a fascinating story, Lisa.
it is totally. And then at the end, so a lot of the things he talks about are interesting too. And also how he was raised Catholic, and
Right.
that he never knew about this other this other way.
Yeah, and then he started going to Agape, and it's a lovely story.
It is. And he has a good sense of humor.
It's
So,
funny.
but
Yeah.
at any rate, it was just the same kind of thing of following, having that trust, that belief, that enables you to say, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm supposed to do.
So
And so
good.
I think that that's the thing. The I feel as if the other thing is really, the in terms of intuition, sometimes the voice is loud like that, in the sense of, it's like it's practically whacks you in the head. But I think that intuition also takes you into situations, and
Yes.
presents people to you as well. He talks about people and referring to them as angels,
Yeah.
that are those people that somehow are there, that change your path in some way.
Yeah.
At any rate, I
Yeah.
just felt like it was a great way of looking at the still small voice.
It's worth a look and a
Yes,
listen. It's a wonderful story, and thank you for hitting the highlights.
yes. Okay, so now why don't we have a nice little prayer to open the actual service? So why don't we take that nice centering breath? Then as we release the outside world and go within, I am so grateful that we have the opportunity to join together in the consciousness of presence, in knowing that the presence is always present. It is in and through and around every living thing, and everything that is or was or shall be. It's all one unified field of love and connection. And that as we recognize this unity, it allows us to become even more trustful of the presence and its power to co-create with us a life that works for us and works for everyone. And so I speak my word for each and every one of us that is here present, or anyone anywhere, that we have the ability to slide into that space of silent, empty trust that allows the voice to come through, that allows us to be held in the love and compassion that the presence always holds for us, that as we accept it, we then can give it forward to whoever crosses our path. And I feel that we are so blessed to have the experience of that and the experience of our ongoing connection together as one heart, one mind, knowing that we are always blessed by the service. We are always blessed by Reverend Michelle's teaching for us, and that we are blessed by one another's company. And so I release my word knowing that it's done. And we release it together by saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Lovely. Oh, lovely, Lisa. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing those stories. Here's our affirmation.
Oh, yeah. The comfort of the Spirit come into the stillness of my heart. Peace, like an ocean of infinite life, reflects itself through me and calms every turbulent feeling. I am in peace and rest in the knowledge of the all good, which is at hand. And that's Ernest Holmes.
Okay. That's our guy.
Mhm.
So I have this in keeping with our theme of the still small voice, or talking about intuition. I have a song that I just stumbled upon. We were just talking about that, Nan, where you just stumble upon things that are right. And here it is. This is a woman called Karen Taylor Good, which I don't know that I've ever heard of her before. But anyway, this is perfect for today.
I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. And every time I forget that, so the universe will show it. There seems to be a plan that works, and there's no way I can blow it. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. How does the mighty oak tree face the changes autumn brings? Well, he doesn't worry if he'll grow new leaves when it is spring. Let me be that trusting, let me let go, and know the buds are on their way, though I'm naked in the snow. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. And every time I forget that, so the universe will show it. There seems to be a plan that works, and there's no way I can blow it. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. How does the tiny robin feel when she finally leaves the nest? Well, she takes a giant leap of faith and lets nature do the rest. Let me be that faithful, let me dare to fly. Though my wings are frail, I will not fail, and there's a simple reason why. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. And every time I forget that, so the universe will show it. There seems to be a plan that works, and there's no way I can blow it. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. There's a power in the universe greater than just me, and it works a million miracles when I let it be. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. And every time I forget that, so the universe will show it. There seems to be a plan that works, and there's no way I can blow it. 'Cause I always know what I need to know when I need to know it. I always know what I need to know
Yay.
It's a good one.
I was talking to you and I was muted. Yeah, isn't that great? It's perfect for today. Perfect for intuition. I just happened to stumble across it. Oh, how usual. I was divinely guided. It's so funny because, well, I'll get there. So I always want to say good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind. And as always, whether you're joining us in real time or replay, we're just glad you're here. So welcome. And I want to get in the habit of always saying this, that I trust that there will be something in today's service that reminds you of what a brilliant, magnificent, empowered expression of the divine that you are, and that nothing can ever change that. And I trust that you will awaken to the God that you are and to live from that knowing. That is the reason we get together. That's the reason we're here. So if you're anything like me, and you probably are because we're all human, you have a feeling that really never goes away. That let's call it an intuitive knowing that tells you that there's something more than just this physical reality. I think we all have it, even though we might try to logically talk ourselves out of it or dismiss it as some silly nonsense. There's something in all of us that knows we're greater than what we've been taught to believe about ourselves, greater than who we think we are. And that there's something much more wise and powerful than just our human perception would suggest. And I would guess that that's the reason we're all here, to explore this idea together in this open, loving community of like-minded people who share our desire to know who we are in God, to know our divine presence in a deeper way. The more and more I study and understand metaphysics, and for me, that's generally science of mind, but there's many different metaphysical teachings. But the more I dive into metaphysical spiritual principles, the more intimate I become with the presence of God, with my divine self. And the more empowered I feel in my oneness with God, the more I can live from my divine identity rather than just from my limited human identity. And for me, this is the practice. This is my practice, to shift my perception from my human ego self to my divine self. I shared last week that my latest affirmation is, I think only the thoughts of God, because my intention, my practice is to live from those thoughts, from that divinity, and to be who I've come here to be, to follow my intuitive knowing of the divine within me. The literal meaning of metaphysics comes from two words, obviously, meta meaning beyond, and physics referring to the physical realm. So it literally means beyond the physical. But philosophy has a different approach to metaphysics. It has another meaning. Metaphysics is philosophy explains metaphysics as the exploration of first cause and the nature of being, which of course is exactly what our founder Ernest Holmes taught and wrote about. So I have let me see, I should have probably gotten this out, but I didn't. I have a quote from him that, because I talk a lot about that we are metaphysicians. I say that a lot. As metaphysicians, we know. I use that line a lot. And so I think it's important that we understand what metaphysics is and what we're doing here. So if you can see this, Holmes wrote, the simple meaning of true metaphysical teaching is the study of life and the nature of law, governed by and directed by thought. I would add feeling. Always conscious that we live in a spiritual universe, that God is in, through, around, and for us. And here's the line I love. There is nothing supernatural about the study of life from the metaphysical viewpoint. It is just the reality of life, of who we are. And I think that's really important for us to remember. And so this is really what I want to explore today. This is our intuitive knowing comes from this place, from who we are in God, from our metaphysical roots. And the spiritual principles that metaphysics teaches, they're universal reality. And this is the way of knowing who we are. And this is what we're talking about today, about listening to this knowing. We're calling it the still small voice, which is actually a biblical reference. It comes from, I had to look it up. I didn't know where it came from. It's from 1 Kings. It's the story of Elijah. And it says that Elijah heard, he had all these horrible things happen. And then it said, but Elijah heard a still small voice. And there's another reference too in Psalms, which we probably all heard, which is be still and know that I am God. And I also ran across a quote on this wonderful website that I love to visit for information. And it's from Edgar Cayce. You probably know who he is. They used to call him the sleeping prophet. He was a channel. He channeled spirit. And he wrote, what was it? Hear the voice within, not the tempter from without, which really draws us into that idea that we're always connected to divine truth and that we just have to go within to connect to it. Divine wisdom's always available to us. And of course, Ernest Holmes and others, we called it intuition. We call it intuition. And Holmes defined intuition as the ability to know without any process of reasoning, just know. Haven't we all felt that at one point or another in our lives? We just had a feeling about a situation or a person, something that we just knew without having any particular logical reason for knowing it. We might call it a hunch or a gut feeling, a moment when we just knew that we knew, when we had a feeling about something that we couldn't just explain. It could be anything, and we probably have a million different examples of it, but it can happen when you're shopping for a car and suddenly you just know, oh, this is the right car. Or maybe you need to have a difficult conversation with somebody and you just get a sense that this is the right time or this isn't the right time, whatever it may be. Or have you ever gotten just kind of a creepy, foreboding feeling that you should not go down that road or get on that plane or hang on with that particular person, hang out with them, And have you ever not followed a hunch and then later regretted it? I've certainly done that, And one of the other things that I've noticed about intuition is that it just doesn't come in like kind of random odd bits of information. Intuition doesn't gossip about something that is of no concern to you. Intuition comes to us because the information is valuable to us at the moment. It gives us information that we need to direct our actions. And it comes in a kind of very natural way. It feels like it just kind of rises up from a universal mind and it benefits us. And it seems to operate in a very purposeful way. And I think intuition helps us realize something else that's even more important. It tells us that all knowledge is within. It calls us to go within to connect to it. And these two things are so valuable to us. All knowledge comes from within, and it's always available to us anytime, any place. When we connect, when we listen, we're always connected to this vast reservoir of love and guidance. Life spirit, God spirit, whatever we want to call that presence, it's always there to support and love us. And through practice, we can hone our ability to be even more open to listening to that still small voice. So as I usually do, I look for some kind of a teaching story to share about this idea. And I found this one that I think is it's really kind of beautiful. It's actually a true story. And it's about the author of a book called Zen and the Art of Archery. It was written by a German man named Eugen Herrigel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I have no idea. Herigel went to Japan because he wanted to learn about Zen. And this was back in the 90s. But no one took him seriously. They just thought, yeah, he only has this academic interest in Zen. The Zen masters didn't want anything to do with him. But he persisted. And he finally convinced this one Zen master. He was a Zen archery master. And his name was Kenzo Awa. And he convinced him that he was sincere in his desire, that he really wanted to learn Zen. And so for 4 years, Herigel trained with Kenzo Awa to learn Japanese archery. Apparently, you have to learn to use this very long and stiff Japanese bow, and you have to learn how to release the arrow smoothly. And it requires a lot of effort because you have to learn how to make, I guess, these really awkward movements, but be in these awkward positions, but you have to do it gracefully. And so here's the point of the story. To learn Japanese archery, Herigel had to learn to get out of his way. He had to let his movements flow, which is a lot like tapping into our intuition, letting go of what we think we know so that we can hear the voice of our intuition. So for the first 4 years of his training, Herigel didn't even shoot at a target because, as his Zen master taught him, the target was an inward one. It was all about developing a state of mind. It was all about consciousness. And so finally, during his 5th year of training, his Zen master brought out a target. And the master demonstrated how to shoot at the target. And Herigel was watching the master hit the target over and over again without even aiming his bow and with his eyes barely open at all. And Herigel joked to the Zen master that he could probably shoot in his sleep. And so the master invited him to come back after dark, which he did. And the master shot 2 arrows from about 60 feet away in the dark of night. And when Herigel went up close to examine the arrows, the first one had hit the target dead center. And the second one had split the first arrow in half. And the master's lesson was that we think we need our eyes to see because we think the world is out there. And if we see the target as separate from us, then we need our eyes and we have to be very skillful to hit the target. But if the archer feels his oneness with the target, this is what the master told him, then the archer is merely the channel through which the arrow returns to its natural home. I love that story. And when we listen to that still small voice, that intuitive knowing, when we turn inward and not outward, we become the channel through which divine wisdom and knowledge flows, and it finds its natural home in the world. Intuition is not an activity of the conscious mind. And through practice, we can learn to let go of what we think we know and be a natural channel for the wisdom of God to express in our lives, not only for our good, but for the good of the world. Sounds so easy. And honestly, we probably make it more difficult than it has to be. So I want to come back to something that I said last week. Sometimes I mention things one week, and by the next week, I've moved on to other inspirations. But last week, I mentioned 2 very important pieces of living an empowered life, and they're worth repeating, and they're relatable to what we're talking about today. One is to constantly bring ourselves back to and deepen in our intimate relationship with God. To live and breathe and move in a conscious connection with the divine presence. And the second piece is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. And there are so many ways to practice the presence, and each of us has to find the practice that feels personal to us. I usually use the practices that I'm familiar with, and I tweak them I tweak them to fit me, and I do that until they feel really, really deeply personal to me. I truly try to see and feel and experience the presence of God in all things. And it takes practice to see past the things in the world and to see from the truth in God. Like I said, my affirmation, I want to think only thoughts that God thinks. I want to think only the thoughts of God, which if I do that, then I tend to see through the vision of the divine and see into things what God would see. And last week, I also spoke to you about practicing the science of mind treatment, not only as a quiet meditation, but as a daily activity as we're moving through our lives. And this week, I'd like to invite you to practice feeling your intuitive knowing, listening to that still small voice as you walk through your day. We don't just want to be these human filing cabinets for spiritual principles. We want them to come alive in our lives. We want them to be active in our lives. We want to listen to our intuition so that it can help us move through our lives. And it's always about how we feel, right? Intuition is not a conscious mind activity. It's about how we feel. I'm forever, does that feel right? Does this feel right? And it does take practice. I'm still learning, and this is a biggie for me, learning how to stop second guessing myself, Have you ever done, you do that? Oh, is that me? Or is that really the voice of God speaking to me? Is that spirit coming through? Or is that, is that just because I want that to happen? And I'm always trying to recognize and trust that inner guidance, to trust both my presence and my practice. I ran across another story that I think is worth sharing that really illustrates this. It's a story about a young woman. She had just graduated from nursing school, and she had begun working in a hospital in an ICU unit as a nurse. And when she was in school, she had heard a lot about nursing intuition, but really wasn't sure that she knew what it meant. It was a topic that had not gotten a lot of attention, certainly not as much attention as the things that showed measurable signs about a patient's condition. But anyway, her instructor had assured her that her nursing intuition would develop over time, practice, 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 as we say. And one night she went into a patient's room and she checked his vitals and she looked around the room, but she said that something just didn't feel right. She felt a little queasy and she got that gut feeling that was telling her that something was off, but she couldn't put her finger on it. The patient's labs looked great. His vital signs were normal for being in the ICU, and all of his assessments, they didn't show anything out what they expected to find. But something just felt off. So she spoke to the doctor and she told the other nurses that she didn't know what, but something just didn't feel right. And within hours, the patient went from being stable to being critical. His blood pressure dropped dramatically. His lungs started to decline. His heart rate got very high. But because she had listened to her gut, to her intuitive knowing, all the doctors and nurses were ready. They were already kind of on alert, and help and resources were immediately available. They'd already started running tests to see if anything was off medically. And even though it looked like for a few minutes, like this patient was going to go into cardiac arrest, he didn't. The medical team was ready to react quickly, and the patient ended up stabilizing and eventually getting well, all because the nurse trusted her intuition. She got that gut feeling. She followed it. She knew it was true. And this kind of intuition comes to all of us. And our practice is to learn to listen to it. It's based in the principle, the spiritual principle of our oneness. What is true in God is true in us. We can listen to the divine guidance. We have the freedom to choose where we put our attention and how we want to feel. what we'd like to bring forward in our life. And I don't know about you, but I want to dig deep into the heart of God, into the limitless imagination and fullness of God and I thought about you when I was thinking of this, Lissa, to play in the imagination of God, because Lissa's all about the imagination. And I want to bring that good into my life. And I can only do that if I listen to what Spirit would like to express through me. And rather than trying to figure it all out, I want to focus on how I want to feel. What resonance of God do I want to allow through me? What do we want more of in our lives? What would we like to contribute to the world? There's a beautiful quote that I really love. It's from it's the French poet who wrote The Little Prince, Saint Exupery, I think is his last name. But anyway, the quote goes, and I wrote it down. See if I can find it. I'm sure I can. It's a beautiful quote. He wrote, "If you want to build a ship, don't herd people together to collect wood and assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the immensity of the sea. Have them fall in love with the sea itself." I think one of the purposes of our intuitive wisdom is not only to guide us, but also to light us up, to catch us on fire with inspiration and passion for what is ours to do. When I became a teacher, I felt so passionately about what I knew was mine to do that no obstacle seemed bigger than my desire to do what was mine to do. And I didn't know how I was going to pull it off. How was I going to go back to school? I had no idea. But the day that I finally committed to going back to school, to getting my teaching credential, I called Dominican University to see what I needed to do to get the ball rolling, so to speak. And it turned out that very night, they were having an open house for their teaching credential program. How usual. I listened to my inner knowing and I moved. I didn't even know what direction to move, but I moved. I knew how I wanted to feel. I fell in love with the vision I had for my life and what I wanted to contribute to the world. And nothing seemed too big to get in my way. And the same thing happened when I decided to go to ministerial school. I fell in love with the intuitive knowing within me. And the same is true for you. It can be true for you too. Whatever intuitive vision is calling us, we fall in love with that, in our oneness with God. Whatever is in us that is resonating at this passionate high level is already true in God. We fall in love with whatever it is we want to express. We fall in love with love. We fall in love with peace and compassion, kindness, vitality, wholeness, justice, equality, whatever it is that we want to draw into bold action. Raymond Charles Barker said that the full symphony of your real self can only be heard when all the windows of your mind are open to the fullness of life. So let's throw the windows open. When the windows of our mind and our heart and our very being are open, then we can hear that still small voice speaking to us. Only it may not be a still small voice. I think Lissa alluded to that in her opening. It might be this big, bold, loud voice speaking to us of the immense grandeur of life, and in the many, many, many ways that we can express the magnificent joy of life that's already within us. So let us catch fire with our intuitive knowing, with that still small voice or that big loud voice, that we may be, as we already are, these expressions of divine joy in every way in our lives. Okay. So let's just go into prayer about that. Let's hold in mind, but we know to be true. And that is, we are the divine beingness of God itself. We are divine channels for the good and the joy and the love and the peace that is already true in God, is already true in us, and is making its way into demonstration in our physical life because we are holding to it. We are vibrating and resonating at that level. We are creating in consciousness what we know to be true in God and want to express in our world. So I just speak my word for and about all life. Every bit of life on this beautiful planet and throughout the universe is the expression of this good. We can be no other. I know that every being thinks only thoughts that God is thinking. And that is just truth. That is just love, beauty, wholeness, wellness, the vibration of divine perfection. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this coming together of this beautiful community that we have so that we can sit in the inspiration and the juicy goodness of the all good, of the all God, of the all one, of the all perfect. So I just relax in that, knowing all's well. And we say together, and so it is. All right. You know what's really kind of funny? Is when I sat down to write this talk, I was like, I don't know what to say. I think I've said it all. I got nothing. And so and so I went, yeah, no, that's not true. You know, there's something. So I went into visioning meditation, and then I sat down at my computer, and then it just all came tumbling out of me. So that divine note, isn't it funny how when you're talking about a specific topic, you mentioned this, Lissa, that topic shows up in your life somehow. It's so funny. It's so great. I love it. All right. Well, it is time for our conscious giving, and then we can talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. So I don't know who's doing it. Is it me? Is it you, Rob? I don't know. No, it's probably not you. I'll just do it. It's no, nothing.
Might be relaying.
Oh, it might have been relaying. Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, Lisa is pointing to herself.
Oh, am I gonna say Lisa? It doesn't matter.
I
We're all-
forgot I was on mute.
Oh, that's okay, sweetheart.
See, that's what my assignment was, and then I took Relane's, and I
Oh,
forgot
which
to say
was
that.
so lovely. You know, what a joy you are. What a blessing. So we all know. Do you want me to do it or you want to do it?
Sure.
Okay. Sure, yes. But you want me to do it?
Yeah.
I'm good
Go
with
ahead.
that. Okay. So we all know the ways to give. And you know, as I said a couple of weeks ago, we ended our PO box, and you know, now you can just send it to my house, One Heart, One Mind, CSL, care of, or the easy peasy way, Venmo, and look for my picture, because there is another One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. So look for my picture. You'll see me. You'll see me. And then I will get up our affirmation, which you would think I would know by heart by now. But it is right there. Everything flows from the nature of God's good. Just everything. We give and receive from this flow, and we do it in gratitude, and we do it in love. And we rest in the infinite givingness. I love that idea that God is always giving. The infinite giving nature of spirit, of God. It's reciprocal. Love it. So we know that. And as far as announcements, we're going to do our Monday evening group. We're going to do our Tuesday evening discussion group around the 4th chapter of the Law of Manifestation. And 2 things that I'd like you to keep in your mind is on April 2nd, we are going to do our, actually, I don't know if it's the 2nd. It's the first Sunday in April, whatever that date is. We're going to do our collaborative Sunday service with Home Center for Spiritual Living down in La Mesa again, which is also streamed and Zoomed. And I will post all of that information. And then on May 4th, oh, thank you, Claire, April 6th. You got it right. On May 4th, which is a Sunday, Point, which is the Poway Interfaith team, we're doing and I think we're going to Zoom this too. I think that was the hubbub. We're doing we're calling it The Essence of Prayer, Insights Through Interfaith. And we're having 7 or 8 different clergy or representatives from different faiths. Well, so far I've got, the only one I haven't gotten yet is the Jewish faith. I've been turned down several times, but I'll find somebody. So we have a Sikh, Baha'i, a Muslim, a Christian, New Thought. I'm missing somebody, but several different clergy, and we're coming together to talk a little bit about prayer from the perspective of that particular spiritual tradition, and then also to pray for world peace. I've asked every clergy person to present a prayer for world peace, and then we'll bring it all together. So anyway, that should be kind of fun. I think we could use a lot of prayer right now. So we're going to do
Right.
It's both, Claire. It's both. So we'll be in person, but I think we decided to Zoom it. I was on the committee, and I'm pretty sure we're Zooming it. So, and then which means we'll record it and upload it to our YouTube. Point has a YouTube channel station. Anyway. So that's about it. Yeah, I'm just so glad you're here. And please, if you feel so called to do so, contribute, donate financially to our center. It's important. As much as I love doing this, it does still, it takes some time and effort. And so we could use your contributions. And I think that's it. I think that's all I got. So, I have one wonderful song to share. This is our friend Eddie Watkins. Gotta love Eddie. I'm gonna just share his. It's not a video. I'm trying to stay away from videos because it seems to overtax my internet. So, unfortunately, so I'm just trying to do sound. Can you hear that? No? Okay. I think I forgot to share it. It might be helpful if I actually share the sound. I thought I did, but I guess I did. Here we go. One more time. All right, advanced. Share sound. Share. Here we go. Now it'll share. I love Eddie. He's got some great voice. Now can you hear it? What's up?
We are creating a world that works for everyone. Yes, we're amazing, and we've just begun to feel the power and freedom to be who we came here to be. As we discover each other and to celebrate humanity, we are creating a world that works for everyone. Yes, times are changing. It's a love revolution as we are walking together. Love is leading the way through the fields of compassion to a world that works for everyone. To a world that works for everyone. As we are walking together, love is leading the way through the fields of compassion to a world that works for everyone. To a world that works for
So beautiful. Oh, let me turn it off before it starts going into a commercial. All right. Well, oh, I see Betty came on. Hi, Betty.
Hi, good morning.
Did everybody, was everybody okay with the time change? It's kind I was saying earlier in the meditation that I usually feel like I have this whole time in the morning and I get all this stuff done. And today I found myself kind of hurrying. One less hour. So I am going to say goodbye to our recording. Goodbye.